This is Matt from GDM, and I am going to demonstrate how to use the merge functionality within ARM to best integrate your CRO data into your trials based on the variety of situations that you can find yourself in when working with externals for data. And invariably, they send the trials back in a variety of dilapidated shapes. Primarily, the biggest concerns is when they go out on their own and make their own trial entirely, or if they have changed the information, the identifiers within that trial for their own numbering system and such. So before we show the feature, just to discuss a little bit behind the scenes of why you might be seeing messages about duplicate versions of the file, identifiers matching, the database being unhappy, not letting you export your information to the database. The name of the file itself, when you are looking in your folder, usually not too important. Of course, if you have that exact same name in a couple of different folders, ARM might complain, but the real key is the trial ID. So that's found in the header section of your trial, and that identifier is the biggest one for creating that unique identification of a trial. And that's what the computer is going to use to decide whether or not it has already seen this trial before, if it already exists somewhere else. And it'll start to complain and throw up flags that this thing seems to be a duplicate. Behind the scenes, there is one other identifier that is invisible to people, but is within the trial, and it's very important for a database. And that is the trial GUID, G-U-I-D. So that I've kind of mocked up here. I'm pretending as if this trial number 2 box really is the GUID. But you'll never actually be able to see it in a trial. But it's this really long string of numbers and letters that's just total gibberish to a human. But for a computer, for a database, it's super helpful because it's nearly impossible to generate the exact same one of these if you just randomly pick numbers and letters to create it each time. So we can be very, very sure that if you encountered 2 different files with that same line of gibberish, that those things did come from the same, they actually were the same at some point. That really is a duplicate, because how else would you ever have exactly the same string of garbage here? So that, again, you can never see it in real life, but it is something the database relies on and is important. So what happens is if your cooperator, and here I have a trial we'll pretend is from our cooperator, they come in and decide, oh, I've got my own ID system. I'm going to change the trial ID in this file, or even worse, I'm going to go and create my own trial for this research, and I'll send that back. In either case, number 1, you have a different trial ID, which of course everyone can see is definitely not the same, even though it is that same trial. In addition, whenever that trial ID is changed, ARM clears out that GUID, that GUID, and generates a brand new set of nonsense. So that gets cleared out and changed as well. So the problem is, if I open this up on my computer and just change it to the real ID, it's close. It's closer to the real thing that we wanted. But because of that hidden identifier, the database is still going to be unhappy. The database is still going to recognize something's a little weird. The other thing that might matter is your investigator creator. That's another location where you can see clearly this is stamped in when a trial is created. And no one can fake it. You can't change it later. The person that made the trial. So that might be another indication, a way to tell that the trialist had made their own file. This investigator comes from the contacts, so that's easy to change. But this, the creator one, cannot be changed. Okay, long story short, that's kind of the behind the scenes why it can be problematic. The best way to proceed is to use the merge functionality, which is really just a fancy copy-paste tool. So to get started, you'll want to open up the original trial that you created. Or if you hadn't done that yet, generate a trial from the protocol. You'll then have your name as the creator, and it'll, of course, be mostly empty. Then under the Tools menu, we will use Merge, specifically from an ARM study. So now we can reach out to another file that's on our computer and copy in the information that's in that file and bring it in and paste it into the one we were just looking at. So there, I've got my study ID highlighted here. There's also a browse button if you need to, if you haven't opened up that version from the cooperator yet. It's just on your computer. Here we choose the sections that we want to copy. So I'm going to avoid the header because presumably that's already filled in mostly. And I definitely don't want their trial ID for sure. But I will add treatments. But specifically, I will choose to replace the existing list. That way, the list in this trial will exactly match what they had, just in case they rearrange the treatments or something like that on us. I'll choose the site description. If they've used scheduled tasks, that comment section or attachments, you could choose any of those that you think they have done. Worst case, choose them all. If it's empty, it's empty. It's not going to hurt anything. Then for the assessment data, you want to choose to add assessment columns. If you already had some headers planned out, those will remain in this trial and we'll deal with it at the end. But it will for sure bring in all of the columns that they had in their trial. It'll bring them in separately just as they were. And finally, I want to update my randomization. So of course the trial map matches what was done. So when I click OK, it will go out to that file, read what was in that trial, and bring it in to this existing study. Because I chose site description, now we can zoom in and choose specific sections of the site description to bring in. In this case, of course, I want everything. But just like the treatment list, I will choose to replace the crop and pest description. Just that way I know I can have the exact list of crops, the exact list of pests that they had filled in. I definitely don't need to duplicate them. So this will kick out the existing ones. It will delete any crop and pest repeating sections that I already had in this file. And then it'll add new ones for what was entered in that trial. And that was it. Oh, just a moment. I guess it's still loading here. I usually read in the red text in the corner tells me whether ARM is still working, and it looks like I didn't pay attention because it was. So here, like I said, it is going to delete the existing pests and crops. So it's asking if that's okay to delete. Yes, it is. Now let's see if it's finished. Okay, if I just click around, we'll look at the crop description. For example, there's only the one variety that we were studying here, but it has the harvest information from the cooperator. So just the way I would like it to be. And in the assessment data, we can see I had 4 assessment headers filled in already, and then now everything that they had filled in, which hopefully is going to be using the headers you gave them, is going to be to the right. So I could simply delete these first ones that were already here. So I could delete 4 of those since they aren't needed. And that's it. We've copied all that information from the trial into this one and have preserved those important identifiers found in the header. So when I save and close this trial, it can go out to the database and hopefully everything will be happy once again.